This is Twit.
Well, as she said, I was talking to my nephew this morning at breakfast, and he's a great guy, but he's one of these conspiracy guys. And, you know, everything's like a conspiracy, the government and all, what have you, and everything. Yeah. And so we were talking about 5G. And he said, "Oh no! Did you hear all about that?" And I said, "No. Well, what's it about?"
Oh, who's he been listening to? Okay.
And so he goes, "Yeah, it penetrates your skin and does damage to your internal organs."
Oh, isn't that not? Isn't it? You know, microwave does. I mean, I wouldn't get inside a microwave oven. And in fact, the way microwave ovens were discovered is it was used in radar. And somebody cooked a can of beans in front of a radar. And in fact, that's why the early microwaves were called radar ranges. Oh. But that's a lot of energy. And you have to be pretty close because there's a rule that's really important about energy and energy dissipation. It weakens by the inverse of the square of the distance. So that's a big mathematical thing. But the bottom line on that is the energy coming off the antenna dissipates extremely rapidly by the inverse of the square. So it pretty much is gone by a few feet away. And that's why you can stand in front of your microwave with some minor shielding because it's not that dangerous. The waves that are used by 5G are even less risky. Ask your friend if he ever goes through those X-ray machines at the airport. I'm not talking about the metal detectors, but those ones that go around you. Those also use millimeter wave. And I remember when that technology first emerged, there were people saying, "Oh, people are afraid of stuff." And the real thing to remember is it's hard to prove the negative. Mm-hmm. In other words, if something's damaging, it's easier to prove it's damaging than it's not damaging. It's like, how do you, cell phones. Well, no one's proved they're damaging, but on the other hand, no one's proved they're not damaging. Because how do you prove that? Well, we kind of have. I mean, we've had cell phones for several decades. There's no increased instance of brain cancer or other kinds of cancer. In fact, there's evidence is reduced, but that's probably due to other things. So there's a guy who comes in here, visits us, local guy, who's trying to get Wi-Fi removed from the public schools because he says, our children, think of the children, the Wi-Fi is killing them. So, and it's very hard to prove it's not. And he could cite a lot of kind of sketchy studies, as I'm sure, your friend can. Who was you said your son?
My nephew.
Your nephew. I'm sure your nephew has, there's always, you can find stuff to say anything.
Sure.
But just so you know, 5G is millimeter wave technology, which is at a very, very high frequency, relatively low energy, and even if you stand next to the antenna, it won't cook a can of beans, and it certainly won't penetrate your skin. So
so that was his big argument.
Yeah. In fact, one of the problems with 5G, one of the reasons it's not going to come as fast as they say, is it doesn't travel very far. And so when we put in 5G, when companies are putting in 5G, they can't just use the existing cell towers. They have to double the number or triple the number. They have to have a lot more cell towers to support 5G. That's one of the reasons I'm not too worried about 5G. One estimate I said that by 2025, 6 years from now, a full 30% of the nation will get 5G. What? In 6 years, 1/3? What?
Right.
Don't worry. I'd love to see 5G. I'm not worried about it. I keep my cell phone in my pocket next to my heart where it belongs.
I think you were talking about 5G just a week or two ago.
Yeah.
I remember that's what made me think about giving you a call.
The promise of 5G, and by the way, don't fall for, and the cell phone companies do this every time, AT&T is labeling on your phone now that it's 5GE, which means the E means not 5G. It means it's 4G, but we're going to call it 5GE. It's not really 5G. You're not going to see 5G except in very limited areas. And you have to buy a special phone. They are starting to sell those phones, but it's going to be a while.
Right.
When we get it, it will be faster. But speed isn't the primary benefit of 5G. It's something called low latency that everybody's excited about. That is, there's latency is a killer when you're using Skype or you're playing a video game. It's the delay between when you send a signal and when you get it back. You've seen that on satellite phones on the TV news where they say, Bob is in Budapest. Bob, what do you think?
Right.
Well, John, that's latency. And it's not good. It's not good for phone calls, not good for video games, not good for a lot of things. One of the things people want to do with 5G is wire autonomous vehicles so that they can communicate with each other. Latency would be really bad. If you all come to a stop sign at the same time, it would be a bad thing. So that's why people are excited about 5G. It means it's not so much that it's faster, but that we can do more with the 5G network. But don't get tell your nephew. Well, the problem is you can't convince these people because they say, well, I saw, because you can't prove the negative. So
right.
All we can do, and I think it's prudent, is continue to watch studies on cell phone radiation, Wi-Fi radiation. For a long time, I was really worried about very low frequency radiation from power plants, power lines. There seemed to be maybe some evidence that living near a power line wasn't a good thing. Well, that's not panned out. There are environmental hazards all around us, but I don't think 5G is one of them. So
cool.
I don't know if telling your nephew will do any good at all, Mike. But
yeah, well, maybe I'll have him just. I think I can pick up this show on podcast too, right? If I want to replay it for him.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's a great techguylabs.com or twit.tv/TTG.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care. But even if you play the tape of me saying it, it's not going to convince him. It's not going to convince him at all.